Alright, fellow air conditioner people. About a week after I posted the last video on this air conditioner, amazingly today it's about 81 degrees outside. A little bit of last blast of some nice weather before the fall sets in. I wasn't expecting any nice weather, but this week's been pretty decent. So I saw the temperature today was supposed to be pretty warm, and I thought, well, what the heck, let's stick this thing in the window, and we'll get a little video up before the cold weather starts, and pretty soon the snow will be flying around here. So what we have here today is a 1987 Amana 5050 BTU air conditioner. As I said in my last video, I picked this thing up off of Facebook Marketplace a week before for 35 bucks in pretty decent condition. As you can see, the side wings are original still. Like I said, a little bit stiff, but still flexible enough to get the job done. It was pretty dirty, but nothing really too out of the ordinary. But primarily what I found, if you look at the last video, some rust in the pan under the condenser that I took care of. It's a good thing I caught it when I did, because it was getting pretty thin in some spots. So we've got her back together, all cleaned up. We'll go through and just kind of give you again the usual stuff. We've got the vent control, like a lot of most units here. You got the little flap for exhaust the air in and out. Got high, low, cool, and fan only, which is just the high fan setting. So it's a pretty simple machine, not a lot of settings on it, and then obviously your thermostat. Filter grill, we just lift off on hooks there at the top. Filter is just held on by two small pegs, just a simple piece of foam. Pull that off here. There's our evaporator, all nice and clean. And there's the data tag. It does cut off the bottom. I forget which is on there. Maybe the ER rating or amp rating or something, but that's what she looks like with the grill off. We'll go ahead and fire it up on fan only, just to show you the high fan speed. Moves good about air. On high, it's not loud, but it's just air noise. And I'll turn the thermostat down and then turn it to low. Obviously, high cool's got the same fan speed. And then there's low fan only. Low fan is extremely quiet on this unit. Very, very nice. I would say this one probably is pretty much in the same ballpark as my 5000 BTU Panasonic as far as fan noise and overall quiet. It's a really nice running unit. We do have individual air deflectors for each set of vents. The height vertical adjustment's not, it's fixed, but the left and right, you've got four individual little dampers in here. It's actually very, very similar to the Carrier Siesta as far as the actual little dampers that are in the windows, each individual window. It almost looks like the same part. We'll turn it to low cool. Very smooth running compressor. In the previous video I had mentioned that it was relatively noisy as a compressor. It's a Toshiba compressor, not a Matsushita or any other brand. It's I don't know, it's just not a real common one you'd see in a lot of these units, but it nevertheless does a fine job at cooling. A little bit noisier though than some of the other compressors, like the Matsushitas and the Panasonic that I have. It's a little quieter on the run. we'll get a watt meter shot here in a few minutes after it runs for a little bit. I did have it running a little while ago, so it's been off maybe 15 minutes. Put high cool. Low. We'll get some temp measurements here too here in a second. All right, here's our kilowatt running 487 watts, 89 watts. It's rated for 595, I believe, from the data plate. So because of it's cool, like I said, it's pretty cool outside. Not a lot of heat load. It's running a little bit lower wattage than rating. Alright, it's been running for about 10 minutes or so. We'll get a couple of temp checks on it. So our intake air, we're not too warm coming in, getting a little cold air from the recirc. It's about 68 in the house. This temp gun reads about 2 degrees low on average. About 45 degrees coming out the vents. 42, 40. So good 20 degree split or more on low fan. I did check the evaporator coil with the temp gun, and it's even all the way up. All the coils are within a couple of half a degree, couple tenths of a degree. So it's definitely run with a relatively full charge. So it pulls current like it should. So you can usually tell when something's getting low. It starts pulling well under its rated nameplate watts, even in normal weather, because it just doesn't have enough load on the compressor because of the low charge. So it's another way to tell. So it definitely running well there. All right, here we have it running outside on low cool. Low and nice and warm. You can see the rust staining left on the fins from the base pan corrosion and the condensate splashing up on them. You can see the fins are clean all the way through from the Triple D cleaner, but it did not remove the rust stain, so I'm going to be working on that next. One thing about the Amana units is they're long from front to back. They stick out of the window a long way. Yeah, you can see in the very far window upstairs there, I've got my little carry cool stuck in the window, and it barely even protrudes from the back side of the window. Just fooling around with that the other night. It was a little warm upstairs. We got no condensate today. It's really, really dry as far as humidity goes, so I don't think we're going to see much dripping out of it, even with the drain plug pulled out. But that would be where it would go, right there in the corner. And then the condensate exits right on this side of the machine from the condenser coil, so it just runs straight back and right out the drain hole. Works great. All right, we'll get some temp checks outside here. About 75 outside right now. It's cooled off a little bit, so we're in just about 30 over ambient. Just where it's supposed to be, 25, 30 over ambient. It does get a little cooler right at the bottom. It's got a little more condensers than it needs on a day like today. Going good and warm. And here's something I have been doing kind of informally, but I think going forward it'll be interesting to maybe do some more comparisons on some of my different machines. But this is a dB meter I've had for a really long time that I don't use too often, but it's kind of handy when you have things like this you want to do. So right now, obviously, I'm talking, and it's reading about 68 decibels on average. I have it on slow weighting and on the decibel C scale. Look up the differences between A weighting and C weighting on decibels. It's basically relates to how the human ear reflects and responds to the different sound levels. The C weighting scale tends to utilize or analyze the effects of low frequency sound more on the ear, where the A weighting is more general across the entire frequency spectrum. And I'm using C to take into the account of the low frequency compressor noise, the so-called window shaker effect at 60 hertz or whatever, the 120 hertz sound from the rotary cycle of the compressor, be it recip or rotary. So it biases it towards the low frequency sounds a little bit more. If I switch it to A weighting, you can see it's about a 55 average and a little bit lower with me talking. And the C weighting brings it up to about 62 dB. It's just pulling in that low frequency sound. The camera probably doesn't pick it up, but you get that low frequency, the compressor hum. Turn it up to high. Just about 65, 66. Turn off the compressor, just let the fan run. Hold the sound meter in the same place. Right now we're still in the C scale. Now we're down to 57 on just the fan. And 52 on the A scale. Now if I turn it off, obviously we're low, so I have to turn, that's as low as I can go. 60 is its lowest range. So, I mean, it's a very quiet machine. It's, as you can see, if it's, 52, 53 decibels is a very quiet sound level. Every 3 dB in decibel increase is a doubling in sound energy. So it's not a linear scale, it's a logarithmic scale. And so 90 dB versus 80 is a tremendously louder sound. It's not just 10% or 10 units, it's something like 10,000 times because of the way the scale works. So I think it's kind of interesting to just see how quiet the relative machines are. So I'll kind of do this going forward as well. All right, and there you have it, people. 1987 Amana 5050 B2 air conditioner. These Amana units are kind of underrated. You don't see people collecting them, really. You still see quite a few of them for sale. The larger versions, different years of these things. I've yet to see a decent EQK unit come up for sale around my area here. Kind of the Northern Illinois, Chicago metro. They just don't exist around here. Maybe some of the late ones, early 90s, just before they got bought out by Fedders, you'll find them. But any of the vintage stuff, it's just not around here. Amanas, we get quite a few, surprisingly. And after having this one now, and then my 94 6700 BTU quiet zone, I really like them. They're easy to work on. They're really well built. They run really smooth, really quiet. They cool well. They're efficient. This is EER of, I think, about 9. right around there. The quiet zone I have is a 10 ER from 94. So they run well. They, like I said, they're efficient. I really like them. They're just easy to work on, easy to service. Filters are easy to get to. You know, you don't have to pull the whole grill apart to change this filter. The case comes off easily, so you can clean them. The condenser pops out with just a couple of screws. You move it out of the way to get under it and clean it, get the shroud off. They're just really nice units. I like them, and you know, I like the spine fin. I like the GEs, the fashionettes, you know, those various units are neat, but they're a pain in the ass to work on. And I mean, I got that big JC Penney that's a fashionette version, and it's just a pain in the rear end to take it apart and clean it, and it takes 3 times as long. So cool's great, but they're just a pain in the neck by comparison. So I mean, the Panasonic's the easiest because it's a slide out. It just pulls the whole thing right out of the case and boom, you're there. It doesn't get much easier than that, which is neat for a 5,000 BTU unit. So anyway, thanks for watching. Leave any comments you might have. It's great talking shop with air conditioner stuff, and hopefully we'll see everybody in the spring again when it thaws out. We can start digging out the air conditioners. Pretty soon I'll have the leaf rake out, and then the snowblower won't be long behind it. Have a good one, people.